Alright, today we're doing a little bit different than what we did yesterday. Yesterday we were trying to find percent of a number. So what we did, we changed our percent to a decimal and we multiplied it by the whole number to try to find a percentage of that number. Today we're going a little backwards with it. We're trying to take a number and see what percent of a whole number it is. So if I look at this example here, a part of a whole is equal to 100%. So you need to know that a whole is equal to 100% before we even start this. So I've got the example here. The example is 10 is 25% of what number? So you have the number 10 and you're wanting to know it's 25% of what? So what times 0.25 is going to equal 10? And that's how we're going to check our work. We're going to check our work by doing what we did yesterday. So we're going to work backwards and then forwards to figure it out. So I just drew a little pie chart here showing 4 different sections of 25%, and 10 is 25% of what number? So each time it's 25%, it's going to be 10. So 25% plus 25% plus 25% plus 25% gives you 100%, and 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 equals 40. So the answer here is going to be 10 is 25% of 40. But the way that we're going to find that out on a normal basis, because it's not always going to be 25%, you're not always going to be able to use a pie chart. Instead of doing like we did yesterday, to where we take the number, or take the percent, change it to a decimal, and multiply, when you're trying to find part of a whole, you're going to, step 1 is going to be change the percent to a decimal. It's the same as yesterday on step 1. But step 2, instead of multiplying, you're going to divide. Step 2 is going to be to divide the number by the decimal to find the whole. So for this example up here, 10 is 25% of what number? So I'm going to change, it's going to be 25% is going to be, move the decimal 2 places to the left, it's going to be 0.25. So then I have 10 divided by 0.25, but I cannot have a decimal in my divisor, so I move it 2 places to there. I've got to move it 2 places here. So the decimal will be behind the 10, but we move it twice to the right. So it becomes 1,000 divided by 25. And then I work it out. 25 won't go into 1. It won't go into 10. It will go into 100 4 times. 4 times 25 is 100. Subtract it. We've got a 0 we have to bring down. 25 will go into 0. 0 times. My answer here is 40. Alright, so we're going to make a little chart here just so that we know what the difference is between the two. Percent of the number, we're going to do the same thing with both of them. We've changed both percents to a decimal, but percent of the number, you're going to multiply by the percentage. Part of a whole, you're going to divide by the percentage. The answer for part of a whole is usually going to be higher than the number. If you're trying to find, if I say 7 is 35% of what number, then I'm going to divide it by 0.35. So 0.35 is going to go into 7 more than 7 times. Now, if I have a divisor that's over 1, like if my percentage is like 125%, then your answer might be lower than your original number. So for percent of a number here, I'm going to do, so 75 so I'm going to do 15% of 75 for percent of a number. So I'll take 75, multiply it by 0.15. If I do 75 is 15% of what number, then this is different. I'm trying to find, so 75 is going to be 15% of a number. So some number times 0.15 is going to give us 75. So it's going to be much bigger than 75. So for this one, I'm going to do 75 divided by 0.15. So I move the decimal 2 places there, 2 places there, and I have 7,500 divided by 15. So let's work these two out, show you the difference in the answers. We got the same numbers asking two different questions. I'm trying to find out what 15% of 75 is here, and over here I'm trying to find 75 is 15% of what bigger number. So 75 times, or 5 times 5 is 25. Carry my 2. 5 times 7 is 35. Plus 2 is 37. Done with a 5, so I mark that place out coming down here. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 7 is 7. Add this up. 5, 12, carry my 1. 11, 25. I've got 2 decimal places in the problem, so 11.25 is 15% of 75. So that's my answer, working percent of a number like we did yesterday. But what we're doing today is part of a whole, so I'm going to divide it. 15 will not go into 7. It will go into 75. It'll go in there 5 times. 15 times 5 is 75. Subtract, we get a 0. Bring down this 0. 15 will go into 0 0 times. Bring down this 0. 15 will go into 0 0 times. So the answer here is 500. So 75 is 15% of what number? 500. So 75 is 15% of 500. So that's the difference in these two type of problems, and you're going to get huge differences in the answer. So you have to know what they're asking. If I'm trying to find percent of a number, so if I say there's 20 people in class, 30% of the class has on pants, then I'm going to take 20 and multiply it times 0.30. I'm changing 30% to 0.30, multiplying it by 20 because I'm trying to find the percent of a number. If I'm saying 5 people have on pants, and that's 15% of the whole group, how big is the whole group? Then I'm going to take 5 and I'm going to divide it by 15%. So it would be 5 divided by 0.15, and I would get a much bigger number than I would working the other way. So let's do a couple example problems. So 9 is 36% of what? So I'll take 9 and I've got to divide it by 36%, so 0.36. I've got to move my decimal twice here. So I have to move it twice here. It's going to be 900. 900 divided by 36. 36 won't go into 9, it'll go into 90 twice. 2 times 36 is 72. 90 minus 72 is 18. Bring down a 0. 36 will go into 18 5 times, I believe. Yep. And go in there 5 times. 5 times 36 is 180. And my answer is 9 is 36% of 25. So that's the way that these problems work. I will give you a couple example problems to work out, and I will work them out for you as well. These are just finding part of a whole. We're not working on percent of a number today. We'll put them together in the next couple of days and work out both to where we can see what the difference in the two is and make sure that we understand the difference in the two. But so 7 is 70% of what number? And we'll go with 7 is 35% of what? Alright, so right now, pause the video, work these two out the same way we worked the previous example. Pause the video now. Alright, you should have worked these out by now. So first thing we do is how we set them up. We got to change this to a decimal, and it's going to be 7 divided by 0.70, and then 7 divided by 0.35 on this one. We'll work this one out first. We have to move the decimal 2 places. Same thing here. So it becomes 700. So you have 700 divided by 70. 70 will not go into 7. It will go into 70 one time, which is 70. 0, bring down our 0. 70 will go into 0 times. So the answer here is going to be 10. 7 is 70% of 10. And if you need to check that answer, you can work backwards. You can say 70% of 10 is 7, so we can say 10 times 0.70, and you're going to come out with your answer. So you're going to have 700, 2 decimal places behind, so it's going to be 7.00. So checking your work going back this way, you can do that as well. All right, so 7 divided by 0.35. We got to move our decimal 2 places here. Got to move it 2 places here, so it's going to be 700 divided by 35. 35 will not go into 7, it will go into 72 times. 35 times 7 is 70. 70 minus 70 is 0. Bring down this 0. 35 will go into 0 times. So our answer is 20. 7 is 35% of 20. Did these right, you're good to go. If you did not get these right, rewatch the video so you have a good understanding of it. It's a fairly short video today, and you'll have an IXL lesson ready to go for you once you finish the video. Good luck.